I'm Alen Stellian, the Midlife Empowerment Coach, and today I am thrilled to introduce Maria Spears. Maria works with women and men who are accomplished in every area of their life, but they're frustrated because they want to find their soulmate and they can't figure out what's going wrong in their love life. What they want is to cut through the games of dating and have the extraordinary relationship they've dreamed about. The transformational process Maria developed is based on her extensive training in the fields of professional coaching, EFT tapping, neuro-linguistic programming, hypnosis, psychology, her experience coaching hundreds of women and men to overcome blocks to the love and the life they want, and over 20 years of research. Wow, Maria, welcome. I am so looking forward to our conversation.
Thank you, Ellen. I'm so delighted to be with you and all your listeners.
Yay. So I would first like to start out, I'm always fascinated by how somebody becomes a love and dating coach. Can you tell us a little bit more about your journey to get to where you are today?
Well, yes, I'd love to. It's interesting because my whole life I had been searching for my mission or my purpose. And it wasn't until my late 40s that this happened. And it happened as a result of my own very long, unhappy, unsuccessful experience in love and relationships. And the pivot point was in my late 40s when I went through a divorce. My 16-year relationship ended. And I had to figure out what had been going wrong in my love life all those decades, how I ended up with the people that I always chose. And so I learned three things in that process. I learned that number one, we're not given a manual on how to find love. You know, at work and in our profession, we get training and coaching and manuals. So in love, there's nothing out there to figure out how you select the right partner, especially in midlife, in our generation. You know, all we got was a couple of hours of sex education in high school, and that was it, nothing on relationships. So the second thing that I learned was that I did not know what I needed in order to thrive in a relationship. And the third was that I was walking around my entire life with a low self-worth that was impacting my relationships. So it wasn't until a couple years after my divorce, I was working as a professional coach with women and men, and I was helping them unravel their past relationship patterns and overcome past heartache and develop confidence to step into relationships with the types of people they really wanted. And it was something that got activated in my heart as I was working with those people that so deeply affected me. I felt so committed to helping them fall in love with themselves, fall in love with the divine person I was seeing in front of me, and then find their soulmate. And so that's when I realized, oh my goodness, you know, this is what it was all leading me to, that searching for my purpose. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit choked up. That search for my purpose that was revealed to me. And so
yeah, no, I was just going to say, it's always so powerful to hear stories of how our struggles can inform our callings, you know, and I love hearing how something that was a struggle for you really, manifested into this desire to help others and to make sure that others wouldn't have to suffer or to struggle as hard or as alone as you did. And, it sounds just like the perfect way for you to really put a bow on a difficult experience.
yes, it was in the process of recovery from divorce that I was able to break my old patterns completely, where I no longer was attracting those people, nor was I even spending any time with them, wasting time. And I realized certain things were working to help others, you know, find the right person. So I've been applying those as I work with clients now, as well as other research that I've done and understanding of what makes relationships work and what men and women are looking for. So right now, my main message to people that I work with and to, you know, groups that I speak to like today is, you know, there is nothing wrong with you if you haven't found your right match yet. And it's all about redirecting your partner picker. And I'll be very excited to share with you what that is.
Oh, yeah. Oh, boy. Okay. So I know there are some specific things that you advise your clients when it comes to finding lasting love with the right partner. So can you tell us about those?
Yes. So when I first start working with someone, and this is something I recommend to anyone out there who's going to be looking for love at any age, is to, we have something that's like a blueprint for relationships in our brain. And it's like programming that was installed after birth. It's something that we acquire as we're going through experiences with our early caregivers, and then as we have romantic relationships. And all of this contains our beliefs about ourselves,
Mhm.
about others, about relationships, and how we feel about ourselves. And all of this really sets us in a specific direction as we're out there in life, selecting partners and as we're in relationships. So, what I do first with people I work with is uncover what that unconscious love map is, that blueprint for relationships, and how it's affecting them in their search, how it's blocking them, really, how it's preventing them from finding the right match that they've been looking for.
So when you're talking about the unconscious love map, are you, because it sounded like you were describing the way we become who we are. And are you saying that as a result of our upbringing, our genetic load, everything that we come into the world with, plus the nature, the nature and the nurture part, that then that affects how we view relationships, and how we seek out romantic relationships?
Yes, it affects everything we do in our romantic relationships. So the best way I can demonstrate that, instead of listing the different things that can happen, is to give examples of how it shows up in relationships and in dating. So a real life example would be someone I worked with, who was outwardly a very accomplished person. She was beautiful. She was a business owner. She had everything else going in her life, except that her complaint at 40 years old was that she had never met anyone who wanted to have a relationship with her. In fact, they all ghosted her. And she, yeah.
Surprising.
Yes. But when we went into her past, her love map, and I don't go into it like therapy does. I go into it in a different way, literally in black and white on paper, to see how things developed. And we look at it as from the perspective of being a kind scientist, as opposed to, oh my God, look at all the mistakes I made,
Right.
and so we looked at what was happening, and what happened, and it's common in many families, is she both her parents were alcoholics. But this was also true with another woman I worked with, where one was an alcoholic and the parents divorced. In any case, when a child is young and sees that parents aren't paying attention to them, or one parent leaves in divorce, they develop specific beliefs and emotions that tell them, I am not lovable enough.
Mm.
Otherwise, that parent would have stayed. I did something wrong. I must not be enough. I'm not worth it for them to stay or for them to engage with me. So that gets formed early on. It's just an automatic. It's a story that we create of our world at young ages, and that continues to happen through life. So what happened is that she was playing that out when she was out there looking for love. Not only was she not selecting people who could be interested in a relationship, she couldn't even see them. She wouldn't notice them in her environment. And because she was holding back so she could try to be acceptable for somebody else, she wasn't really shining her true self. Um, she then, that light that we all have inside of us, that spark, that uniqueness, that was dimmed down for her. And so it was not bringing in people who would notice it. But after we worked on that piece for her and started to release some of those patterns and those old beliefs, she ended up reporting two things. One, she was meeting lots of men who wanted to go into a relationship with her. Now she was left with having to choose who to be in a relationship with. And then she was also noticing that men were coming up to her and approaching her everywhere she went.
Wow. So really her demeanor, her changed entirely. It sounds like that as her feeling of worthiness increased, she then showed up differently in the world and attracted men who would want to be with that kind of positive energy.
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. And I mean, an example I often use is imagine yourself as a light, a beacon of light in the ocean,
Mhm.
and instead of ships being able to navigate to you because they see you, your light is either dim or it's off, and they pass by without noticing you.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a great analogy. That visual is very powerful. Wow.
Mhm.
So interesting. So that's the love map piece. You said there were a few other things.
Yes. So once you discover what that love map is and you kind of start reprogramming some of the beliefs that you've had, you create a new love map for yourself, basically with new criteria and that you focus on with essentials and deal breakers. And everyone that I've ever worked with has never showed up with the criteria that they end up having after we do this process.
Mm.
There's another example I can give you. I worked with a woman who was always looking for, athletic and fit and muscular men. And so after we worked together, she met a man who was more intellectual. He was average looking, average size. He was creative, but he was a great conversationalist. She almost didn't go out with him a second time. And I sat with her and I said, "Well, is it great conversation? Yes. Do you feel safe with him and comfortable? Yes. Would you consider a second date to learn more about him? Yes." And so she went out again with him several times. And before she knew it, that chemistry she was reporting at the beginning was missing. All of a sudden, a new type of chemistry started to develop based on how much they were connecting at a heart level, a heart, mind, spiritual level.
That's beautiful. Yeah, I feel like the lists are, I don't know, they go out the window when you meet somebody who really makes you feel seen and worthy and known. And I don't know that the superficial criteria just don't seem to measure up to me. So I love that, I love that you encourage women to give it another chance when, maybe on paper, this person does not look exactly, doesn't check all the boxes, but, or in appearance, but then how do they make you feel? There's just the heart piece is so important. And chemistry, I don't know. Do you believe that there's a love at first sight? Because what you're describing is more, a growing chemistry and love that doesn't necessarily have to be there from day one.
Well, there is chemistry, and there is for some people, but there's a caution with chemistry. Chemistry is a brain chemical. It's
Mhm.
addictive. It's hormonal. Which this is the thing I love about midlife is we're less driven by those hormones when you're in your 20s and 30s. They cloud your judgment. Chemistry clouds judgment, and it's not the thing that lasts a lifetime.
Yeah,
It,
yeah,
it causes you to jump into bed, with someone too quickly, and feel like it's this false connection or false intimacy. And then your judgment is clouded and you can't really look at the things that your mind should be going over about whether this person is the right fit.
right. Good point. I like that. What else should we know to attract the right match?
So I alluded to that your light being on.
Yeah.
So a big piece of what I work on, it increases confidence. That's the number one thing that men are looking for. They're
Mm,
not looking for a specific shape or look or whatever. They want a confident woman. They want to know someone who will let them know what she wants, what her goals are, where she stands, can stand on her own. And this is the great thing that a lot of women today have. They have, that independence and that confidence. But they want a woman also who can tell them what she needs, because for a good quality man, there's nothing more important than him feeling like you need him and that he can please you. In fact, the number one question men ask before they consider committing to someone is, can I make her happy?
Wow. Interesting. Yeah. So really not driven by self, but really concerned for, can I, lead a life with this person and know that she'll be happy with me. So that's interesting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
So the mindset piece is really important. Having a mindset of, I am a queen and I'm out there selecting my king, instead of how, many of us have gone out there in the past waiting to be chosen or waiting to fit the criteria for the other person and doing the people pleasing thing. And so that's, knowing who you are, knowing what you're looking for, having a mindset of you're choosing your beloved and that you're not going to settle. But another piece of that is turning on your own light, which means doing whatever you can to love yourself up every day, asking yourself, what can I do to show that I love myself? Or what can I do today to give myself joy, pleasure, fun, whatever it is that's going to really light up that inner spark in you.
Well, it sounds like a lot of the work you're talking about doing with a woman is really before even she's going out on these dates. I mean, really to shore her up, to help her know herself and value herself, and then to go out there. Is this something that you do first and then, or is it during? Is it like how does the process work?
It starts with looking at their current love map, their blueprint for relationships. And then we do work to kind of resolve or dissolve some of those attachments to the past, really forgiving themselves, building up their confidence. But at the same time, then they develop the new love map and they start going out and dating and testing it out. And so it's during the process of dating then that we look at whenever pieces of the past or old attachment patterns may be rearing their heads, to catch her before she ends up in a dead end situation, really keeping her head on and her heart in terms of how she's evaluating people and dating several people. And I know that's hard for women to do. We are not socialized to do that, but dating a couple people initially to, not put our eggs all in one basket.
And what's your, is it a myth or, I mean, what I hear from my girlfriends who are dating later in life is that, a guy's who's going to be willing to look at you is on your profiles or whatever in the apps is typically going to be at least 10 years, maybe 15 years older than you. Like, is that a thing that you see also?
Well, if you look at the totality of a search online, that could be happening. And yes, it will. There's people who don't look at your criteria, who still step up to say, hey, look at me. But the thing is that it's what you are looking for, and I also don't advocate using online as your only way to find someone. Of course, it's the one that's been possible during the pandemic. But I do steer people to creating a dating plan that fits what they're looking for and who they are. That includes other options. Yeah, but that can happen. But the most important thing is to stick with being authentic on your profile of exactly who you are and what you're looking for. Oftentimes I see false advertising. And sometimes the false advertising can be in the form of a woman or a man showing up with the negative in their profile first, saying, I'm not looking for drama, and I want to find a grown-up woman who knows what she wants. And you can immediately see what people are looking for that they're trying to avoid. And so, yeah.
And sometimes I would think that first sentence might be telling us to what their experience has been in the dating world, right? Maybe they've had a lot of drama, and so that's why they make sure to put it front and center, but it may be a bit of a turnoff, I would think.
Yeah, this is where I see that their picker is the people who are out there with those profiles, their picker is only noticing that in their search.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's what they keep getting.
Gotcha. Yeah. So it sounds like you work with women. It's a organic thing. Like you're, helping them really figure out who they are and let go of some of these beliefs they have about themselves. At the same time as you're kind of shepherding them through the dating process and processing also sort of how this date went or that one, or how they're choosing who they're going to potentially meet on a date.
Yeah, it's keeping their confidence high through that process. It's also about and I'm sure you do this with your clients, you hold the vision of what they really want for them so that they don't, even when they're tempted to give up, you're holding it there for them so they can keep moving along on their path. Yes. There's a piece where you basically upgrade your understanding of the differences between men and women. It's another piece that I coach people through. And it's the truth of what it takes to understand men, for example, and to communicate with them is very different from anything we've ever been taught. For example, a man is looking for respect. They're not looking for love, they're looking for your respect. It's a different thing for them.
Yeah. So do you ascribe to the whole men are from Mars, women are from Venus line of thinking in terms of what, it seems to be very stereotypical, but I don't know if there's some truth to that.
It's been a long time since I read that book, so luckily that's faded into the past for me. And what I know now is that well, biologically, our brains are completely different. So the way we process information and communicate and we see the world are very different. And so when you understand how men are seeing things, that they're singular focused, whereas we are dispersed in our we're multitaskers, they consider one thing at a time, and if they're busy concentrating on their one thing and you interject, and unless you say, hey, is this a good time to talk about X, or when is a good time, then you might not have his full attention, but then he can be there. Yeah. So they have a different way of approaching many things. But there's ways to communicate with them that are a whole lot more healthy than anything we see out there in the world. Okay. And also there are, through research, we know places like the Gottman Institute and others, we know what makes relationships work for a lifetime, so new skills that you can acquire. That's the other piece, is that you want to have upgraded skills from anything you've been using in the past.
Yeah, and I love all the Gottman work is fabulous. It's really, I view them as the relationship gurus and the way to divorce proof your marriage. So that's, yeah, they really know what they're doing, and they've done so much great research. This husband and wife team, the Gottmans. Is there anything else you want to share before we talk about your fabulous offers to my audience?
Yeah, there is. So I think, the most essential piece is to find out what's in your love map and how it's leading you to what you want. So you have a chance consciously to change that. And we talked about self-love, putting your oxygen mask on first and turning on your light. And the gift that I have provided today, the 10 steps you can take now to attract your soulmate, has some simple but very powerful ideas that they can use right now to start turning on their light and, attracting in the right kind of partner. But the best piece of advice would be for anyone who's serious about finding love, and you want to do it right this time with the right person. And you realized with the pandemic that you don't want to put this big part of your life off anymore. You want to prioritize it. I really strongly urge them to find a co-pilot, some support system where they can actually stay focused on this and not let it go to the bottom of their priorities in life. If it's important to them, then they owe it to their future self to do something decisive about it. So it doesn't matter if it's me or any other coach or person they've met through you or anyone in the world. I just really urge them to do something like that, because finding love is more like a marathon. And you have to have that support system in place. And as much as the people around you love you, number one, they don't have the best advice. it's biased. And at some point, they might turn off, kind of advise you during your search for love. So that's my best advice right now.
Love it. Yeah, no, it's, you don't have to go it alone. There really are so many helpers and resources out there. And those closest to you don't always want the same things for you as you want for yourself. So I wouldn't go by their measure of, what I would want, for love. And then, oh my God. You also run free monthly seminars. So I'd love for you to tell my audience a little bit more about that. And of course, I'll be linking to both Maria's free gift as well as her seminar link in the comments so that everyone can avail themselves of those.
Yes, I'd love to share that. I do have a monthly seminar on how to find love, how to find your soulmate, and really taking the super highway instead of all the back roads, really setting yourself on a more direct course. And I offer that, the next one is coming up on Sunday, April 18th.
Okay.
And it's an hour long. And the main thing about that is that we go in and we start to uncover their love map to see what is inside there that's leading them to where they've gone in their relationships and their search for love.
And this is free, and it's a way for people to get a taste of you too. See how, what it's like to work with you or coach with you, and get obviously some wonderful material and to start leveraging and working on. So wonderful offerings. Thank you so much for those. I am going to link to everything in the comments, and really appreciate you being with us today and sharing your expertise and what wonderful advice for our audience. And if you enjoy these videos, please watch for more coming weekly. And until then, be well and stay safe, everybody. Thanks again, Maria.
Thank you so much, Ellen.